A few years ago, I got a call from a former client. I had helped him and his wife buy a condo in the city, and he was calling to ask me a favor. His parents were trying to sell their home in Naperville, and they were stuck. He told me the house had been on the market for nearly 2 years with two different agents, and it hadn't sold. He didn't know that I worked in the suburbs as well as the city, so when I told him I'd be happy to take a look, he was relieved. I drove out to Naperville, walked through the front door, and within a minute, I knew exactly what was wrong. The house was overpriced, it was dated, and it was deeply personalized. The owners still lived there, so decades of a family's life were on every wall, every surface, every shelf. Buyers would struggle to overcome the very strong feeling that this was someone else's home. I sat down with the parents and told them what needed to happen. I told them the price needed to come down, they needed to move out, and the house needed to be staged. They looked at me and said, "What does that mean?" They had been listed with two agents for 2 years and had never heard the word staging. I explained what it was, what it would involve, and what it could do for the sale. And their response wasn't reluctance, it wasn't hesitation. They looked at me and said, "Why didn't anyone tell us this before?" Not only were they open to the idea, they were relieved. Moving out meant they didn't have to scramble to clean and vacate every time there was a showing. They moved out, moved away from the stress, handed me the keys, and let me handle the rest. A professional stager furnished the home and made it show at its best, and a house that sat on the market for 2 years, outdated, in an unincorporated area in a challenging market with real obstacles, sold in 2 months. Proper strategy matters, and for sellers, staging is often a critical part of that strategy. I'm Shireen, I'm a real estate broker in Chicago, and today we're talking about staging. What it is, what it actually involves, why it works, and why the return on that investment is always significant and well worth it. Let's start with the definition because there's a lot of confusion about what staging means. Home staging is the process of preparing a property for sale by presenting it in the most appealing way possible to the broadest range of potential buyers. It is not decorating, it is not renovating, and it is not the same as cleaning and decluttering, though both of those things happen as part of the process. Decorating is personal. It reflects the taste, the personality, the life of the people who live there. Staging is the opposite of personal. The goal of staging is to depersonalize the space and neutralize it, to create an environment where a buyer can walk in and immediately begin imagining their own life there rather than feeling like they're standing in someone else's. That distinction is everything. A beautifully decorated home that reflects the current owner's personality can actually work against a sale. Buyers get distracted. They notice what they don't like. They mentally remodel as they walk through. Staging removes those distractions and replaces them with clear, compelling visions of what the home could be. Now, the staging process looks different depending on the property, but let me walk you through how it typically works. First, the professional stager will assess the property, sometimes in person, sometimes virtually. They're looking at the layout, the natural light, the condition of the finishes, what's currently in the space, and what needs to change. Accordingly, they'll make recommendations. Staging homes in which sellers continue to reside during the marketing phase is an option, but it's a challenging one. The stager can work with the existing furniture and belongings, editing and rearranging to create the best possible presentation, but this requires the seller's full cooperation and their willingness to live in the home a little differently than they normally would. They have to make some emotional adjustments as they declutter and depersonalize the space. Family photographs come down, personal collections get packed away, excess furniture gets removed, closets get edited. The goal is to make the space feel clean, open, and neutral, which often means living with less than what you're used to, at least for the duration of the sale. More often than not, we are staging vacant homes. When homes are empty, staging becomes even more important. An empty room is harder to read than most people expect. Buyers struggle to understand the scale of the space, to visualize how furniture would fit, and to visualize the house being their home. Empty spaces often feel cold. A professional stager brings in furniture, artwork, rugs, bedding, and accessories to transform the space into something warm, livable, and aspirational. The transformation in how the home photographs and how it feels to walk through is significant. Staging and photography go hand in hand. The way a staged home photographs compared to an empty or cluttered space is the difference between night and day, particularly for online listings, which is where the vast majority of buyers first encounter a property. In today's market, buyers are making decisions about which homes to schedule showings for based on listing photographs. Your photography is your first showing and it needs to be excellent. I want to share something with you that I think is one of the most compelling proofs that staging works, and it's something that I've shared with sellers for years. Think about what real estate developers do when they open a new construction building for sale. They stage a model unit. They bring in a professional designer, they furnish a unit beautifully, they create an experience, and then they open the doors and let buyers walk through. Ask any developer what happens next and they'll tell you exactly the same thing. Buyers want the model, constantly. So constantly they're moving the staging from one unit to another. There is a reason for this, and it's not complicated, it's psychological. Buyers make emotional decisions. They buy the home where they fell in love, and the model unit is specifically designed to create that feeling. I took buyers to a new construction building once. It was a condo development in the city. We saw the model unit, they loved it. The sales representative told them that the unit directly above was available, empty and ready to close. Same price, identical finishes, one floor up. And my buyers said no. They wanted the model. They wanted the unit where they felt something. That's staging. That's what it does. And if you need any more evidence that it works, developers who are running a business in answer to investors and bottom lines use it with every single project. They wouldn't spend the money if it didn't move product. What a stager does for a home is exactly what a developer's designer does for a model unit. They create the feeling, and the feeling is what sells. Now let's talk about the cost of staging, because that's usually where sellers hesitate. The first thing I want to say is that staging does not have to be expensive. I have worked with the same professional stagers for many years. They are talented, experienced, and extremely reasonable. The cost of staging varies based on the size of the property, but it is not the prohibitive expense sellers assume it will be. The second thing I want to say is look at the return. The cost of the staging typically comes back to the seller 3 to 5 times what they put in, sometimes more. That return shows up in 2 ways: a higher sale price because the home presents better and attracts more competitive offers, and a shorter time on market, which has its own financial value. Every month that a home sits on the market is another mortgage payment, another utility bill, another round of carrying costs. Time is money in real estate, and a well-staged home moves faster. The Naperville home I told you about at the start of this video is a perfect example. It sat on the market for 2 years before I saw it. 2 months after staging and a price correction, it sold. The staging didn't do all of that alone. The pricing strategy mattered too, of course, but the staging was what made buyers willing to consider it, walk through it, and fall in love with it. That's the return. It's not just monetary return. The return is also seen in a smooth and successful selling experience. If you're thinking about selling, whether it's this year or down the road, put staging on your list of things to seriously consider. If you have any questions or comments, please share them below. You can also reach out through my website at shireenazam.com, and I'll leave the link in the description below. If you found this content valuable, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share it with anyone who may benefit from it. I'm Shireen, and I'm always keeping it real, and I'll see you in the next video.